Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 5, Book 59, number 382. Narrated by Jabir. Allah's Apostle said to me, "Have you got married, O Jabir?" I replied, "Yes." He asked, "What, a virgin or a matron?" I replied, "Not a virgin but a matron." He said, "Why did you not marry a young girl who would have fondled with you?" I replied, "O Allah's Apostle, my father was martyred on the day of Uhud and left 9 orphan daughters who are my 9 sisters, so I disliked to have another young girl of their age. But I sought an elderly woman who could comb their hair and look after them." The Prophet said, "You have done the right thing." Volume 5, Book 59, number 383. Narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah, that his father was martyred on the day of the Battle of Uhud and was in debt and left 6 orphan daughters. Jabir added, "When the season of plucking the dates came, I went to Allah's Apostle and said, 'You know that my father was martyred on the day of Uhud, and he was heavily in debt, and I would like that the creditors should see you.' The Prophet said, 'Go and pile every kind of dates apart.' I did so and called him, i.e. the Prophet. When the creditors saw him, they started claiming their debts from me then in such a harsh manner, as they had never done before. So when he saw their attitude, he went round the biggest heap of dates thrice, and then sat over it and said, 'O Jabir, call your companions, i.e. the creditors.' Then he kept on measuring, and giving, to the creditors, the due, till Allah paid all the debt of my father. I would have been satisfied to retain nothing of those dates for my sisters after Allah had paid the debts of my father. But Allah saved all the heaps of dates, so that when I looked at the heap where the Prophet had been sitting, it seemed as if a single date had not been taken away thereof." Volume 5, Book 59, number 384. Narrated by Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas. I saw Allah's Apostle on the day of the Battle of Uhud accompanied by 2 men fighting on his behalf. They were dressed in white and were fighting as bravely as possible. I had never seen him before, nor did I see them later on. Volume 5, Book 59, number 385. Narrated by Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas. The Prophet took out a quiver of arrows for me on the day of Uhud and said, "Throw arrows, let my father and mother be sacrificed for you." Volume 5, Book 59, number 386. Narrated by Sa'd. Allah's Apostle mentioned both his father and mother for me on the day of the Battle of Uhud. Volume 5, Book 59, number 387. Narrated by Ibn al-Musayyab. Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas said, Allah's Apostle mentioned both his father and mother for me on the day of the Battle of Uhud. He meant when the Prophet said to Sa'd, while the latter was fighting, "Let my father and mother be sacrificed for you." Volume 5, Book 59, number 388. Narrated by Ali. I have never heard the Prophet mentioning both his father and mother for anybody other than Sa'd. Volume 5, Book 59, number 389. Narrated by Ali. I have never heard the Prophet mentioning his father and mother for anybody other than Sa'd bin Malik. I heard him saying on the day of Uhud, "O Sa'd, throw arrows. Let my father and mother be sacrificed for you." Volume 5, Book 59, number 390. Narrated by Mutamir's father. Uthman said that on the day of the Battle of Uhud, none remained with the Prophet but Talha and Sa'd. Volume 5, Book 59, number 391. Narrated by As-Saib bin Yazid. I have been in the company of Abdurrahman bin Auf, Talha bin Ubaidullah, Al-Miqdad and Sa'd, and I heard none of them narrating anything from the Prophet excepting the fact that I heard Talha narrating about the day of Uhud battle. Volume 5, Book 59, number 392. Narrated by K. I saw Talha's paralyzed hand with which he had protected the Prophet on the day of Uhud. Volume 5, Book 59, number 393. Narrated by Anas. When it was the day of Uhud, the people left the Prophet while Abu Talha was in front of the Prophet shielding him with his leather shield. Abu Talha was a skillful archer who used to shoot violently. He broke 2 or 3 arrow bows on that day. If a man carrying a quiver full of arrows passed by, the Prophet would say to him, scatter its contents for Abu Talha. The Prophet would raise his head to look at the enemy, whereupon Abu Talha would say, let my father and mother be sacrificed for you. Do not raise your head, lest an arrow of the enemy should hit you. Let my neck be struck, rather than your neck. I saw Aisha, the daughter of Abu Bakr, and Sulaim rolling up their dresses so that I saw their leg bangles while they were carrying water skins on their backs, and emptying them in the mouths of the wounded people. They would return to refill them and again empty them in the mouths of the wounded people. The sword fell from Abu Talha's hand twice or thrice on that day. Volume 5, Book 59, number 394. Narrated by Aisha. When it was the day of Uhud, the pagans were defeated. Then Satan, Allah's curse be upon him, cried loudly, O Allah's worshippers, beware of what is behind. On that, the front files of the Muslim forces turned their backs and started fighting with the back files. Hadith looked, and on seeing his father Al-Yaman, he shouted, O Allah's worshippers, my father, my father. But by Allah, they did not stop till they killed him. Hadith said, May Allah forgive you. The sub-narrator, Urwa, said, By Allah, Hadith continued asking Allah's forgiveness for the killers of his father till he departed to Allah, i.e. died. Volume 5, Book 59, number 395. Narrated by Uthman bin Mawhab. Man came to perform the Hajj to Allah's house. Seeing some people sitting, he said, Who are these sitting people? Somebody said, They are the people of Quraysh. He said, Who is the old man? They said, Ibn Umar. He went to him and said, I want to ask you about something. Will you tell me about it? I ask you with the respect due to the sanctity of this sacred house. Do you know that Uthman bin Affan fled on the day of Uhud? Ibn Umar said, Yes. He said, Do you know that he, i.e., Uthman, was absent from the Badr battle, and did not join it? Ibn Umar said, Yes. He said, Do you know that he failed to be present at the Ridwan Pledge of Allegiance, i.e. Pledge of Allegiance at Hudaybiyah, and did not witness it? Ibn Umar replied, Yes. He then said, Allahu Akbar. Ibn Umar said, Come along. I will inform you and explain to you what you have asked. As for the flight of Uthman on the day of Uhud, I testify that Allah forgave him. As regards his absence from the Badr battle, he was married to the daughter of Allah's apostle and she was ill, so the Prophet said to him, You will have such reward as a man who has fought the Badr battle will get, and will also have the same share of the booty. As for his absence from the Ridwan Pledge of Allegiance, if there had been anybody more respected by the Meccans than Uthman bin Affan, the Prophet would surely have sent that man instead of Uthman. So the Prophet sent him, i.e., Uthman, to Mecca, and the Ridwan Pledge of Allegiance took place after Uthman had gone to Mecca. The Prophet raised his right hand saying, This is the hand of Uthman, and clapped it over his other hand and said, This is for Uthman. Ibn Umar then said to the man, Go now, after taking this information.